Hey, awesome people. I am your host, Ryan N. Jenkins, and this is the Crown by Nichelle podcast. I'm trying to go live on IG at the same time. So I think I got it. We got it. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I am so excited. I don't think there's ever a time when I'm not excited about the podcast guests that I bring on. But again, I'm your host, Ryan N. Jenkins. As far as where you can access, let's say you're watching this at another time, it will stay up on IG and Facebook for 24 hours and I will take it down. And then from there, you can watch it on YouTube, but you can also listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeart, Spotify, Podcast Index. Y'all, this week I met my goal. So I made a goal for the first time that I was going to pre-sale 50 books of my first children's book. So I met that goal this week on Tuesday. So I'm still selling. So please put your orders in so you can get your autographed copy. You can also order from Barnes & Noble, Amazon, even though I really don't want to say that name out loud, but we'll talk about that another time. Then I want to tell you about, even though I want to tell you briefly about it at the end of the episode. Our next two episodes will be on February 16th. I'm thinking about my birthday. So February 16th, I have a former student, current mentee who's coming on. And we're going to be talking about what adults need to understand. And then also on that week, on that following Tuesday, this is my brother. He's also my barber and Joshua's barber. And we're talking about the redemptive code. He has an awesome testimony, an awesome story to share. So I look forward to seeing y'all. So I won't see you for a week, but I definitely look forward to number one, just hearing from y'all in the comments. So tonight we are talking about dating in 2025. So I brought up my guest, Spry, who is a fellow Woo Eagle. And I'll be honest with you, you know people, but you don't know people on campus. And I knew his face. Like you knew every Black person who did pretty much go to Winthrop. But I did not understand the extent of what he did and how he did it. And then I started following him on social media, started noticing the panel discussions he was on, started noticing him promoting his book, his podcast. And finally, I reached out to him, I want to say last year, towards the end of the year. I said, I need you on my podcast because we need to have a discussion because obviously you have something to offer that people need to hear. Is there anything else you want to add to that, Troy?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me. Number one, I never take it lightly when somebody invites me onto their platform to have a dope conversation, right?
Yes.
And so, yeah, and I feel the same about college, right? It's like you know all the folks that look like us, but you might not have had a bunch of interactions with them, but we're still alumni together. So pleasure to be here, and I'm just looking forward to a good conversation with you.
This is awesome sauce. So we're talking about dating in 2025. And even though some of you maybe, because I just saw one of my former students log on IG, I think he's married. I think I need to check it and find out. But even if you're like not married, I feel like you can still pull something from what he's going to talk about, some of the points, and I'm going to have some questions and elaborate. And we're just going to go from there. So please feel free. I switch back and forth between this screen and Instagram. If you have any questions, YouTube, if you have any questions, Facebook, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. Every now and again, I will put up his social media, which he is on Facebook. At Exclusive Thoughts, he's on Instagram, he's on TikTok, and his YouTube is the podcast TNT Unleashed podcast. So I'm gonna put that up every now and again so you can access this. I'm realizing my background is looking real Clemson right now, but we're gonna flow with it. I'm okay. So I can't. I'm trying to blend with my shirt. But it's the purple is throwing it off. So Tyra, I see you. Thank you for tuning in. So dating in 2025. So he gave me some points that I'm going to have him elaborate on, but I'm also going to have some questions. Honestly, the first one alone could be a podcast episode by itself. So his first point is know what you want. And sadly, I believe, and I can attest to this, single woman, I do believe 2025 is my year. I just feel it, something about healing and wholeness. You can feel it coming. So I literally, when I read that, he said, know what you want, date with the purpose. And I wonder if sometimes, I'm gonna have you elaborate on that, but one point that came to mind, I wonder how much heartbreak would have been avoided, if how many tires wouldn't have been slashed, if we would have dated with a purpose and knew each other's purpose and make sure that it was aligned. So I'm gonna have you can either elaborate that on your point first, but either way, that's what came to mind when I saw that.
The answer is yes. A lot of hearts could have been saved, right? A lot of heartbreak could have been avoided. I mean, the point here though is, look, at the end of the day, I think people, they date too much for attention, right? And not for purpose, not on purpose. And so, we will search for validation, we search for attention, we search to fill voids. We get a little bit lonely every once in a while. And so, we'll kind of take what we can get. But if you don't have a path or a destination, you don't know how to get there. And I think that's one of the issues I've seen. I mean, look, I've been in the relationship space for a long time now, for double-digit years at this point, talking to thousands of people about dating. And the first thing I ask is, what do you want? What is it that you want? Now, you'd be amazed at the amount of times that people have no idea, but they do know they want attention. Right? They do know that they want to look good for the gram. They want those kind of things. They want someone to want them. But it's just like, what do you desire? Number one, what do you value? Right? So you can then decide what it is that you need and want. To me, if we start there, like we start with the what do I value piece, and then we can kind of create our path to what it is that we want. Yeah.
And I just remember when I was younger, because Lord knows, I've grown so much since then. And I hope my younger ladies or those who experience in dating hear me clearly. Please make it clear what you want and not hope what you want will come to pass. And I say that because I remember connecting with this young man at Winthrop. And I was just hoping he would turn into this husband that I wanted him to be. And the reality is his mindset wasn't even there. In his mind, he really was just dating to date. He was having a good time. I'm thinking long term. And then even though lip service, he was talking about how I'm a good woman and I want to be there. The reality is his actions didn't really mimic that he was in it for long term. So it's like, I think it's very clear for us not only to voice what we want and know what we want, but also to, what's the word I want to say? Make sure that when they say what they want, even though it sounds like what we want, are their actions really revealing that's what they want?
Yeah. I mean, here's the truth though, right? People will make it seem like everybody's just out on a dating scene lying to each other about what intentions. That's what everybody will say. But I just don't find it to be true with the conversations that I have, because one way or another, someone's told you either through their words, through their actions, or through their lack of action, right? They've shown it to you in some way what it is that they value and what they're trying to do and accomplish. I just don't think people are smart enough to bamboozle you for so long.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like we bamboozle ourselves is what happens, is because we don't want to accept that this just might not be what we might not be aligned. Right. And I always tell people, like, misalignment is okay, but you have to choose if you're going to stay there and be a part of it or not.
Yeah.
Right. And usually it doesn't end well. Right. I mean, usually we got one person over here. They want commitment. They want consistency. They want intentionality. They want all these things. The other person wants casual. Right. They want to have a lack of clarity. They want to go with the flow. And then there's this gap in between. But this person over here is trying to convince themselves that this person over here is aligned with what they want, even though they've shown them and told them 1,000 times. And then they blame this person over here for their heartbreak, or for them being upset, or for them being what's the word, like misled or whatever. And I'm like, were you really misled, or did you just not want to accept
it? Oh my gosh. Like, that is the biggest thing that bothers me when I talk to certain people, is like, or even just listening, when you listen to different videos and you watch certain things, I was like, you don't hear, like, it's nothing about his actions say that this is what he wants. Like, really listen to what he has to say. It has tripped me out. And Yeah, and another thing I want to emphasize, you says know what you want. I also believe in knowing who you are. That ties in that also. Like I'm realizing more and more as I get older, there's certain things I could be fine with when I was 25, but now that I'm about to be 45, even though it's almost 9 months away, but I'm still counting down. Mm-hmm. But the point I'm trying to make is like when I was 25, I didn't mind dating a guy who maybe had a child. Mm-hmm. Now it's okay. How old is your child? Uh-huh. Okay, because I don't think I want a 3-year-old when I have an 18-year-old, almost 19-year-old child. So it's like things like that, like really sitting with yourself and being honest. And I know my bishop likes to say, have your list of non-negotiables and your preferences. Mm-hmm. So my non-negotiable is you have to be a Christian, point blank, period. There's no interfaith. No, you have to believe what I believe. Preference, 6'4". Uh-huh. I may work with a 5'9", but preferably I would like you to be 6'4". That's just me. No, just anyone under 6 feet. But I just would wearing heels. Yeah. But that, again, that's a preference. But again, you have to know exactly who you are, and that may change over time. And I'll never forget. I go back to church a lot because I'm very faithful in my beliefs. But I remember this one pastor, Bill Winston, said. He had this woman, she was talking about how she really wanted to be married. So he said, make your list, we'll pray over it, and I bet you in a year you'll get married. And that actually happened. So I went home and was like, oh, let me go home and make my list. Uh-huh. And I'm going to pray over it. And then after I wrote the list, God said very clearly to me, are you on this list what you want? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, okay. So again, knowing what you want, but also knowing who you are, and it's just. Oh my God! Let
me see. I've got my favorite chapter in my book. It's called "Be the One," right? And that's what we.
What's the title of your book?
Right? Oh, it's called "Teach Me How to Love While What You Don't Know Will Hurt You," right? And I love this chapter because it talks about stop worrying about finding the one and start worrying about being the one. Right. So start investing your energy into what it is that you want to attract into your life versus trying to just sift through all the people out in the scene. Because at the end of the day, you got to be what it is that you're desiring.
Yeah.
Right. You got to have those qualities. You got to actually exhibit those values that you talk about. You got to actually do this stuff. You know, but we love to fix somebody else up. Mm-hmm. Right. So we're going to take this person. We're going to fix them up because we perfect already.
Yeah. Yeah. What I mean? And it's so crazy. And where can they find your book?
They can find it at Amazon.
Okay.
Right. So you can go to Amazon. You can find my book there. It's a great book. Just go get it. Go read the reviews. I mean, the reviews will tell you that it's good.
Yes. And then Miranda commented on Instagram. She definitely does not want any kids under 10. I feel you. I think 10 is a stretch for me, but it's not that far from being at the house. But I didn't realize that would change for me because the reality is. And you've seen it. We have classmates and people went to school with. They're having babies now, and they're like 40 and 43. And I'm just like, I
don't want to start over no more.
No, my child is grown and can cook for himself. I am good. So the next one, I'm not even going to ask any questions because I have so many questions with this, but I want to let you elaborate and then go from there. But your next point was diversify your portfolio.
I should probably call it like date folio or something like that. But so what do I mean by that? When I say diversify, I mean like you got to find different ways to make yourself available. Because you know how many friends do you know that say they want a man or say they want a woman or whatever it is, but they do the same thing with the same patterns every single day with the same people. Where you gonna find this person at? That becomes the question. They don't want to be on the app. They don't want to go outside. They don't want to go to church. They don't want to tell nobody else they're looking because they worried about how people are going to perceive them. Like, so help me understand, how are you going to find this person that you're looking for? You know, I don't understand. So the point I'm making though is diversify the ways in which you can meet people. At the end of the day, most people find their mates via their social circles. That's what the data would suggest, right? So if that's the case, one of the best ways to find someone is to expand your social circles. You see what I mean? So, and expand that means online and offline. So people have like this bouginess or like this like they put their nose up in the air about online stuff, and I'm like, but you're online all day.
Yeah,
you're literally online because I ain't seen a person in the last few years that ain't doing this all day on their phone, but they'll say, "Oh, I don't want to be on a dating app, or I don't want to be in a dating group, or I don't want to be a part of these groups." And I understand you can't do everything, but if you diversify it a little bit, then the odds of you meeting someone are just higher. That's what I mean. So my suggestion is always like, maybe be on one or two apps. You don't have to spend all day on them, but be on one or two apps. Then maybe join a few social groups, like around the things that you're interested in. For example, you love poetry, right? You love books. You love, why are we not at poetry events? Should we be at writers events? We should be in those spaces because people like me are going to be there, right? And also, I should be telling my friends and all my social circle people that I'm looking for this type of person.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like if you were looking for a job, what would you do? You tell everybody.
Yeah.
When you're looking for a mate, it's like, oh, I don't want to say anything. So that's what I mean by like diversify your portfolio. Like find different ways to engage socially, and you can't just sit up in your house all day with your feet up watching Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember having that conversation with a young lady, and I was like, because it was me and another young lady, we were talking about going to a concert. She's like, I don't really do people like that. And I was like, well, how you expect to meet anybody if you don't do people? Like one thing people could say about me, Ryan and Jenkins goes outside. Like I never forget the night before. I was buying some tickets for my mom and ended up finding out this jazz guy was at in a concert in Charlotte, took a trip and went up there. So but one thing I've been hesitant about because I haven't had success, but I'm thinking about putting myself out there. It's just a matter of me getting over what's happened in the past is dating apps, because I've done dating apps. I have not had the best. Obviously, I'm not married, but someone told me, well, maybe you want to go on this particular app, and we're not endorsing any apps, but do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, it's
what people have successful with?
It seems like for a lot of women, especially like African American women, it seems like Bumble tends to go pretty well. Match tends to work. Hinge tends to work pretty well.
Okay.
But you have also specialty sites, right? Like sites where you can go and find people in community just like you. Like so, it really just depends on. Honestly, what I say is this: it's not really the app; it's how you navigate the app.
Got you.
Right, and so who's on? It's going to be creeps on all of them. It's going to be people that are not dating with purpose on all of them. It's going to be people who, just swipe all day and don't ever say anything on all of them. But what I do know though is I always suggest actually find one that you can actually pay for. Right, actually invest in it, because when you invest, if someone's willing to invest, there might be a little more serious. You see what I mean? Like if you're a guy,
and maybe that's my problem. I never wanted to pay, Troy. I always wanted the free version, right?
And that's where you're gonna find everybody else that wants the free version. So
I never thought of it that way.
So it's just investment. That's all it is.
Okay.
But I'm not saying like people have had terrible experiences on apps. I get it. People have also had terrible experiences in person.
Yeah.
It's not as if it's not like you can just say the app is the cause for the bad experience. It's just a vehicle to finding and expanding your social circle. What I always tell people though is like, it's up to you to understand how to discern. Right? That's on you to be able to do. That means you should be able to quickly know how to remove yourself from situations. Where people get hurt is because they invest in something that they know isn't good for them. And then they feel like they were used. They feel like they were misled. They feel like they were done wrong. But your gut was telling you the whole time this wasn't a good situation for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And another thing, Miranda just commented, she definitely saw a different experience when she paid for the ones versus just being on the dating apps. Thank you for sharing that. But I definitely, again, I'm talking to all my people out there, get outside. Like one thing I noticed, we used to work together. I noticed she's in a running group. And it's not just males, it's males and females. They run together. For all I know, she can meet someone in that group. I'll admit, the poetry scene for me, I don't want to meet someone. I don't. I know them all. But I do go to different events. Like I'm learning, like when they have events at the Richmond Library, art museums, go outside, people. And you don't have to always have to pay for stuff. Like there's a lot of things. You're in Charlotte, right?
Yeah, I'm in Charlotte.
Yeah. Between Charlotte and Columbia, there are things you can do for free, and so you got to get out there, whether it's painting, it's just different activities you can do, and it doesn't cost you anything. So I know.
And here's a tip too: is don't do them with a bunch of other women, right? So what I mean by that is, you see women go out in groups because y'all are communal. Y'all love to be in community with each other, right? But the group of 5 is way less likely to get approached.
I never thought about that before. I just thought I thought that was a punkish move, but I get it.
It's I don't want to use the word intimidating, but
okay.
If I got to choose between the 2 women over there that I can have an easier conversation with, that I think are attractive, or the group of 5 where everybody's judging me, what am I more likely to do?
Wow.
Because there's always a hater in the group. Let's just be honest. And then I got to buy 5 of y'all drinks. You know what I mean? Or whatever, coffee, whatever you're drinking. You see what I mean? So like, we got to start to be logical about this. Or I love to tell them, like, go places by yourself sometimes too. You know, and I tell men this too, like, just, be out and just be outside and be out by yourself. And you'd be amazed at the people that are looking for the same things you are, just because you're easier to approach now. Versus, I see people doing this all day long outside. It's all they do is on their phone.
And it's sad. It's really sad. I never thought about that before. Like, okay, I get it. So that's very good advice.
One good wing woman. Just find you one good wing. He is good wing woman, not the one that's the hater. All right, that's the one that's gonna ruin your time. I promise you.
Oh my gosh. So again, and then some of you need to go out and do different stuff anyway. Like all you do is go to the club, like go to a museum opening, go to a festival. Like we have them all the time between Charlotte and Columbia. So just do different things to get outside and have new experiences. So the next one you said, which kind of ties into what I was bringing out earlier, but lead with authenticity. That's self-explanatory, but I definitely want you to expand on that.
Yeah, I think we live in a world now where everybody can just kind of be whoever it is they want to be, because you can kind of fake it till you make it. Right? You can look like one thing and be a totally different thing. But at the end of the day, you want people to fall in love with who you really are.
Yeah.
You don't want to be 3 months in and now you finally, took your makeup off. You know what I mean? And you finally actually talk the way you really talk. You finally actually express things the way you really want to express them. It's just like, filters have kind of made it like life is a filter now. And to me, people are really attracted to, like, right now, I think authenticity is like the real like flex right now.
Yeah.
Because everybody is so fake. Everybody is so superficial. If you are just a genuine, I hear men say all the time, I'm telling you this, like I hear men say all the time, I just want someone that's genuine. Like literally, because they feel like everything is like what's the word? Like put together, not coerced. You know what I'm talking about. Like people are staging it.
Yeah, that's a good word too.
Right, people are staging things, and so a lot of men and women, I think they just want somebody they can connect with authentically. But the second part of that, though, is when I talk about authenticity, I also talk about your type, and I talk about this idea of like, stop getting so caught up in just your type, because your type, people don't realize a lot of times your type is built off or from toxicity. A lot of times your type is built off of familiarity. So a lot of times your type is based off the old version of you. You see what I mean? And so this new version of you, if you're authentically that person now, then you got to go find people that are like that, not the ones that you used to like back in the day because of a certain look or a certain aura, whatever it might be. You got to figure out who matches with who you are now.
That's good. That's good. Oh my gosh. So I'll never forget listening to this interview, and someone was sharing how they were on a date with someone and was literally scarfing a burger down. It was a female. And the guy she was dating said, "Do you not like me?" And she said, "Oh, why am I going to pretend like I don't normally eat like this? Like, this is who I am. So you can love it. You can take it or not." So, and I never thought of it that way, because we do. I know me as a female, you feel a need not to act a certain way, or just or do certain things because you feel like, okay, that would scare him away. But I feel like if he likes me, he should be able to handle that. So
Absolutely. I mean, I agree.
yeah. So not saying you bury your whole soul, but at the same time, you are not putting on a facade or putting on a fake. And I like how you use the word staging, because if anyone who's familiar with realty, the furniture sometimes is not in the house, is not the actual furniture. They put things in the house to make it appealing so someone will buy the house. And then when you go to get the house, that furniture is gone.
It's all gone. It's all gone.
So it's like, so don't, and like I like how you said staging, because some of us do stage and we put on this facade, and then you realize the person who they fell in love with is not even you.
It's not you.
It's not even you.
It's there's this other caveat to this conversation though is you brought it up, right? So I'm glad you brought it up. Was this idea of you don't have to bare your soul though, meaning like some of us are too transparent, too fast, and we're too vulnerable, too fast. Like people have to earn your transparency and vulnerability, right? You have to earn that space from you. You can, but you shouldn't be on your first date talking about all your traumas and your fears and and all the things, because that's enough to scare somebody away until they get to know you. So I don't want people to walk away thinking that authenticity equals oversharing.
Did y'all hear? Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Authenticity does not equal oversharing, right? You have to be cautious about the space between the two.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. So again, if y'all have any questions or you have anything you want to share, please do. Like Miranda shared earlier about how her paying for apps worked better for her versus just, being on the free ones. I realized that was my issue. I refuse to pay. And so maybe that's
all that big entrepreneur money now,
No, I have to figure out, because I think my sister told me which one she's considering. So she was like, why don't we try that one? So I was like, okay, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna do something. I just got to get over the hurdle.
There you go.
So you said but you said something else. How would you know that you're not like you are? What are some key points to help someone to see? Because you said the reality is you could be going through changes. Because I've seen people, they've gone through the change, they put in the work, but they still keep connecting to the same type they were with before. So what would you need to do as a person to recognize, why do I keep connecting to these former, even though that's not who I am anymore?
It's a great question, right? I think the first thing is think about your desired outcomes. So when you start thinking about desired outcome, like who is the type of person how do I want to experience myself with the person? You start asking yourself that question, a lot of times you'll realize your type doesn't align with that. You see what I mean? Like, how do I want to experience myself with this person? And if you've done enough inner work, then you know how to answer that question.
Yeah.
But if you can't answer it, you probably haven't done enough work. And so that's why you keep falling back into the same habits over and over again. We go back to what's familiar to us. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
So I'm not judging anybody for it. What I'm simply saying is that if you're growing and you're evolving, you have to reframe what it is that you want out of a dating or a relationship situation. And if you're not doing that, you can do all the inner work you want to, but if you're not figuring out what it is that you want out there in the world that matches with who you are now, you're just going to fail every time, because you're always going to come back to homeostasis. And you and I both know that homeostasis is just built off of what we've been through. That's why you judge people sometimes. You're like, why you keep going back to the unhealthy situation? Well, to them, it's normalized dysfunction.
Exactly.
And a lot of us out here faking it too. We think we've done work, but see, you don't really know if you've done work until you're put in romantic situations a lot of times.
Yo, I was just talking about that. Oh my gosh. So
the trigger comes up, and what do you really do with it?
Yes, when you are tested. How do you pass the test or do you fail? And a lot of us don't even realize that. Like, I will never forget, I told somebody I really knew I had grown spiritually, emotionally, socially. I was dating this guy very briefly, not that much longer from where we are now. And I just remember him saying, I'm afraid of forever. And I was like, so what are we doing? Now, the old Ryan would have been like, no, just give him time. And he'll come around. soon and he'll see I'm the one. Nah, Chief, if you don't already see,
You
I'm
already said
good.
it.
I'm good. So it was just like, that's how I knew. And then another situation arose just recently. And I'm talking to the guy, and I didn't know he wasn't single. I already made it clear I was single. And so then in conversation, he brings up, he's not single, but I'm not sure if that's what I want. Then why are you even over here though? I know you're
He like, why are we talking, right?
Why are we even talking if you already admitted you're not single, you're not exclusive, but I don't do that. I don't know. That's not, no, I'm good. So it's it really goes back to knowing what you want, but also knowing, again, like you said, how do I feel when I was in that situation? And did that bring like I know some of us, we allow loneliness to push us back in familiarity because you don't like feeling lonely, but you forget when you were with them, you were broken, you were hurt. They abused the situation. Like they were not good for you, but because we're lonely, sometimes he's changed. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No, she didn't. I don't even say she.
She's still the same.
Let's call it what it is and say what it is and be honest with ourselves, because it's just one of those things where I constantly say this in my poems. Sometimes heartbreak can be unavoidable. Like it can be avoidable. You don't have to deal with it if we listen to ourselves and we're really cognizant of who we are, but also really listening to what he or she is saying to us and not fooling ourselves to believe they're saying something different. In reality, they're saying what they're saying. We're just hearing what we want to hear sometimes.
That's it right there. That's it.
Oh my gosh.
That's a word.
It is a word. Oh my gosh. So invest intentional effort.
Yes, this is one of those things that people don't love to do, right? Because no one wants to like risk being hurt or risk putting themselves out there intentionally and being like it didn't work out. You see what I mean? But that's the only way, to me, the only way to really show pure interest is to be intentional about what it is you're trying to do, to be serious. We love casual these days. Right? We love everything to be casual. Let's go with the flow because I don't want to risk feeling hurt if it doesn't go the way I want it to go. Right? But to me, being intentional saves you a lot of that emotional roller coaster that we talk about. It just saves you from it because, and when I say intentional, I mean a few things, right? Number one, intentional about your pursuit of a person. And that goes for men and for women, right? Be intentional about your, what are your intentions in this? Number two, be intentional about dating. So we talked about earlier about if you're going to say you want someone, what's your strategy? What's your plan? Are you going to invest in an app or are you just going to swipe? You see what I mean? So when I say be intentional, that's what I mean. Like be very intentional about what it is you're trying to do for you to get to the desired outcome that you want. All right. The other part of it is being clear with each other. I think this is where a lot of this stuff happens, right? Is a lack of clarity on this. Even if what you want is not what they want, you at least got to respect that it's clear. You see, at least it's clear what it is. Now, there's some people that might want what you want. Just be clear about it. You see what I mean? Let them choose. I think people get mad or upset because if you're dishonest, they don't have a choice.
Exactly.
Just give the person a choice. That's what I mean by like being like really intentional about what it is you do. You don't have to be dishonest because 9 times out of 10, there's somebody aligned with what it is you want. So, yeah, that's what I mean. Oh, one more thing. If you're gonna be on an app, right? If you're gonna be on a dating app and you say I'm being intentional, actually be intentional about your profile. Right? Don't put up an avatar and then have like 3 words in your profile and then wonder why nobody's like talking to you. It doesn't make sense. Get some good pictures. Invest in some good pictures. Make your profile actually say something. Be intentional about who you're trying to attract to your profile. Do some research on what a good profile looks and sounds like. You see what I mean? Like, that's what I mean by intentionality, being strategic about what it is we want. That's what I mean.
Like me, when I was on apps and eventually I will get on one, I immediately bypass the ones where all I see are your muscles. Like, You can't find any pictures with your shirt on, like you really. So that tells me already
It
your
tells me a lot.
mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That's so much.
Now,
So you
what
into
if
that? You
that was
into
one picture, right? If that was 1 out of 6, where you show different parts of your personality,
exactly,
that's
but
different.
all of them, you trying to look a beefcake? I'm good.
Exactly. You're
I'm
like, I'm
good.
done. See?
Oh my gosh. And then I want to also speak on, you said invest intentional effort. Like it trips me out how people say they want to be with someone, and then when you're approached with the situation, you're closed off. And it's like, and to me, if you're closed off, I feel like maybe that's you telling yourself, I need to just pull back. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's some more healing that's to be done. Some of you just need to let go. Like I feel like the work is done, but you have to just let go of whatever happened. But I think that also ties in also again to your healing.
Mm-hmm.
When you go through your healing process, your wholeness, whether that's therapy, whether that's through church or both, whether it's whatever you have to do, books to get it together mentally. I think you have to really be honest with yourself and really, like when I look back in my life, like some people like to, which is really country folk who believe you should be married by like 23,
Yeah.
24. And when I, share sometimes that I am, I'm about to be 45 and I've never been married, never been engaged. I've been proposed to a few times, but no. So, but the point I'm trying to make is I realized, I remember one time saying, well, God never brought anything to me for me to have. And one day he revealed to me, I did, but you weren't ready.
That's the key.
And I was like, and when I started doing the inner work, I realized it's hard to keep water in a glass if it's broken.
That's another word. That's another
So
word.
So when I realized for years I have been broken, so when I had people, and I'm thinking about two in particular who approached, but because I didn't know what love looked like, I didn't really know what love was. I was like, nah, I don't think you're really feeling me like that. So I was dismissive and pushed them away. And I'm realizing more and more, a lot of us don't take the time to really look at ourselves to see why are we knocking away a good thing. Is something going on within us that we got to deal with. So,
and here's the other piece of that puzzle that no one wants to admit to is that a lot of times we push people away because we don't trust ourselves.
Yeah.
And it's easy to nitpick someone else and what they might not have and what they could potentially be doing wrong and all these other things, but it's really that you don't trust yourself. And that's how you really have to start. That's how you start to really know if you've done real work. Like if the work is working, is
Okay.
when you can start to trust yourself in situations again. You know how many people I talk to who all I can beg them to do is to follow their gut, to follow their intent, their intuition, and it's always right, but they always don't trust it, and they end up in bad situations. And I'm like, that's where the real work comes in. You have to be able to trust the work that you've done inside.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. So his last point is improve your emotional
Mm-hmm.
intelligence. Go ahead. I'm a listen, and then I'm gonna add to it.
Look, let me tell you, like people, we love to use like a lot of terms and stuff, right? But to me, I'm saying this: emotional intelligence is the new flex, right? It is the new, it's the new sought out thing, especially in women and men dynamics, because for so long it was the scenario was if all I have to do is protect and provide, then someone will want me. But then all of a sudden, the lady started doing that stuff on their own, right? And now you have to come to the table with a little bit more emotional intelligence. Now, the other side of that though is there are a lot of ladies out there too who think they're emotionally intelligent, but realistically they just talk a lot. So this is, where I say like being intentionally emotionally intelligent means, do you have empathy? You see what I mean? Do you know what empathy is? Are you able to operate in the gray areas of emotion? Are you able to understand nuance, right? More importantly, are you self-aware? This is the piece that no one wants to talk about, but you got people who think they are like God's gift to everyone emotionally or mentally or physically, whatever it is. They're not even aware of how they come off in settings or with people in relationship. But the problem is we don't call each other out enough.
Oh my gosh.
So to me, emotional intelligence is like it brings this sense of calm to you because you're not sitting there taking everything personal all the time. Everything's not about you, right? It's not about you.
Yeah.
Like sometimes people just have a different opinion than you do, and
Mm-hmm.
but you have to be able to make space for that. And if you can't make space for that, you are emotionally immature.
Oh my gosh. Like,
So, yeah, go ahead.
no, I didn't mean to cut you off. No,
No,
finish your point.
no, that was my point. That was it.
Okay. So, Talker Light said very correct. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Hmm.
So, I have 2 points I want to make. It was very ironic today. I came across on YouTube the Breakfast Club interview. I'm not familiar with him, but his name is Jason Wilson.
Yeah, Jason Wilson. Yep.
Yeah, so he just came out with a new book, and the way he broke down how he had to go through his emotional healing,
Hmm.
because he realized he was just mimicking, even though he hated it, and he felt like his growth as a man was stagnated because of his father's behavior. He was replicating those same
Hmm.
behaviors with his children and his wife.
Hmm.
And it took a lot of deprogramming and healing and therapy. And he wrote a book about it. And the way he broke down, and I remember him even saying in the interview how we, for so long as men, he said, we always thought because we're the provider, that was just enough. And he
Hmm.
said, it's not healthy. And I was like, oh my gosh. So the way, if you get a chance to watch that interview, y'all go back
I
and watch
will.
The Breakfast Club. And then I also thought about, because I just got through finishing the last season of Reasonable Doubt.
Hmm.
And in this particular season, Jax and her husband decide they're going to reconcile and get back together, and they're going to therapy. And it was obvious, like he would say stuff, and she like, "Well, you think that?" And he was like,
Hmm.
"I'm not saying that. I'm just saying." But she would do the same. But it would do vice versa. It was like tit for tat.
Hmm.
I wound you, you have to wound me. And then, I mean, the therapist revealed that to them and said, are you really trying to hear each other? Or are you just trying to win?
That's
And I
it.
was like, oh.
That's it. That's it.
So it's just like really like, and I remember someone saying, and this wasn't even it wasn't like a significant relationship. It was a band member of his. And the guy was talking about how the band member, you can tell, listens to understand. He doesn't just listen just to say that he was listening. Like he's really trying to learn from you. He's really trying to glean from you so he can be a better, he plays the bass. But
Yeah.
and it was just like that. And I think that's not just for romantic relationships, that's across the board. Like, are we really hearing people?
Hmm.
I want to say someone else also said, are we really listening, or are we just trying to hear them so we can make a point? We're not even listening to what they have to say, and just having the maturity to recognize where you are emotionally and really assess that.
Yeah.
Because you can ruin some people if you ain't right. Oh
Look,
my gosh.
it's a practice though.
Yeah.
This is not something that you just wake up one day and you're very great at it. Especially
Oh
if you
no. Oh no.
grew
You
up
got to put in the
doing it.
work.
I had to this maybe in the last 5 years I've gotten better at this. But before I was defensive and lacked empathy and all those kind of
Mm-hmm.
things until I started doing my own work to figure out where it came from,
Mm-hmm.
why I was so defensive, why I responded, why the little boy in me was crying out and not wanting to be wrong or whatever it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that I have control of that, I can actively listen to you, right? I can actively listen and not have that. And even if I get a visceral like feeling of emotion, I don't have to respond to it in the moment. I can process it. You see what I mean? That's just a different skill set. And I just think we are more emotionally intelligent than what we are. And I see this a
Mm-hmm.
lot with men and women. There's so many women who come to me and ask why men don't talk to them, right? And I'm like, well, how good are you really at listening? If I'm being honest, a lot of times it's not because
No.
you've been trained to not to feel rejected if there's a difference in opinion. You see what I mean? And then it
Yeah.
becomes like, and so what happens is a lot of women will out talk men because men aren't this. If you have little girls and little boys, you can kind of just tell, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just kind of tell the differences, right, in their communication. And so, that's what I mean by emotional intelligence. I think both men and women, if we're going to date each other, then the first thing we got to do is become more emotionally intelligent. That's why I put it as like my main thing. Like it's the flex that I think we all got to get better at.
Oh my gosh, it's so much he said in that, and I just really, I you just really we really, there's a lot of behaviors that if we're not careful and we're not cognizant, we'll repeat them. I'm even thinking about my relationship with my son. My mother was an awesome mother. No one's knocking that. But I'll admit there was a lack of closeness because how she will respond to things sometimes. And I had to find myself to a point where I'll never forget. And Joshua, I don't even think he was 10. He might have been like 5 or 6. But he said, "Mommy, why are you yelling? Like, I don't understand." And I was like, now, the mother in me, though, reflecting my mother, who are you to question me? And if I want to get mad, I can get mad. But the reality is there was no reason for me to yell at him.
Why am I yelling?
Why am I yelling? So it's just like, and just respecting that space. And I'm even learning, dealing with him too. Is like, if he doesn't want to talk about it, then we don't need to talk about it right now. Like, and that's one thing I think we're commonly known for as women. Well, we need to talk about this right now. Give him time to process
exactly
what is happening. And sometimes they do have to go away. Sometimes they do have to walk away. Another thing I recommend watching, even though I don't think they came out with another season lately, Black Love.
Yeah. I like Black Love.
So I know they're on Hulu. So, but just sitting down and listening to them have a conversation. I remember one of the couples was admitting to when they had a big fight, because she was so adamant of getting her point across. He was like, "I need to take a walk." And he left. She immediately chased him down the street, was like, "You're not leaving me." And his thing is he just needed to decompress. So he had to call her mom and tell her to go back to the house and chill out. I will be back. But she realized her thing was she was still dealing with abandonment issues from her childhood. So him leaving was he wasn't coming back, when the reality is I just need to cool off. I need to think about
anxious attachment, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh. This is so good.
I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh. So thank y'all. I'm seeing more people tune in on Instagram. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or anything you want to add to the conversation, we're talking about dating in 2025. And I just want to summarize some of his points. No, you had one last point you wanted to bring up.
I have my little list over here.
You said start taking care of yourself and be interesting and interested.
That's it. Yeah, that's so first thing is, if we are gonna be honest with ourselves, the better we take care of ourselves, the more confident we feel. The more confident we feel, the more willing we are to put ourselves out there. That's just the truth, right? It's the difference between when you're 20 pounds heavier and you're 20 pounds lighter. Been there, done it. I got the award for all of it. Like most, like weight roller coaster, but not even just like physical appearance, but when you're taking care of your mental health, you feel better. You feel more confident. You feel more free. When you're taking care of your emotional and your physical health, you just feel different. So that's the first thing, right? Is taking care of yourself. It also shows a certain level of discipline, right? Discipline makes people more attractive, makes people more interesting, because most people that are disciplined around something. They can have discipline around things. They can have ambition. They can have things they're into. They can have purpose, passion, all those things. That's a part of being interesting. What are you going to talk about? We can't talk about, the music and sports, but so much. And if we can't, can we have deeper conversations about it? We can't talk about Shade Room, but so much. We can't talk about pop culture, but so much. Like, what am I doing that makes me interesting? So that's the second part. So you got number 1 is taking care of yourself. Number 2 is being interesting. Number 3 is being interested, because we spend too much time on a dating scene, or even in our relationships. We spend too much time talking about ourselves, right? We don't do enough of asking really good questions. If you want to be a separator on the dating scene, be able to ask good questions that are open-ended. just do that. If you just can do that differently than most people, you're fine. Because what do most men or women want to do when they see somebody? They want to flex. Here's who I am. This is what I do. This is how I got to where I got. I'm a boss. This, thinking that's going to make someone interested in them. Really, it's a turnoff.
It
But
is.
if you are the person that says, if you meet a woman and say, hey, what are you most passionate about these days? Right? What gives you light these days? What are the things that you're looking forward to the most next week? Whatever it is, like if you can have better conversation and be interested, everything gets better because people will feel better around you.
Oh my! So I had a question, and my biggest issue. Okay, and let me word it the right way. Is it possible to be interested in someone, but you struggle with how to communicate that? Like when you're talking to them, like I've been in situations where people, it's like pulling teeth to have a conversation. Is that automatically telling me they're not interested, or they just don't know how to communicate?
Yeah. So meaning, let me make sure I hear what you're saying. You're meaning you're trying to get them to engage in better conversation.
Yes.
But they're not good at communicating very well.
No.
Right.
Like, what's up?
And to me, that depends on like the stage in which you're at. But if it's someone in the beginning stages, maybe they don't feel safe yet.
Okay.
They don't feel safe yet. They don't know, can I trust you yet? Can I really open up to you about certain things that I love? But if it's someone you've been with for a long time, it's like, did you wound them in some way that makes them shut down or what? Now, there's this other part of it that's just simple, which is maybe y'all communication styles just don't align. Maybe you need more of someone that can actually express themselves or talk, and they can't do it very well. And guess what? That means y'all just aren't going to work.
Yeah. Okay. And I see Jasmine just commented on Instagram about a book. It's called Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. He said it's a good book to start analyzing your attachment style.
Absolutely.
And how that impacts your reactions to relationships. Troy said something earlier, like if we're being honest with ourselves, and that's why you really have to do the inner work. Sometimes we're not in a relationship because we want to connect with someone and build. You want attention. You want to fill a void. And as a result, you're draining someone who that's not what they signed up for. And it's like really be honest. Do I really want to be with that person, or do I want the feeling that they give me? They make me feel wanted. They make me feel needed. And I'm not really reciprocating exactly what they need to be functional. And it's like, you really have to sit down with yourself and think about, again, what are your intentions? Why are you with this particular person? There's this poem that I write, that I recite called Avoiding the Label. And in the poem, the person really is voicing how she's only settling in this relationship because she's tired of people asking her why she's single. And the reality is the guy is a good guy. And that's another thing we don't talk about enough. There are a lot of good guys out there who fall in love with a girl who never really fell in love with them, but because they just wanted somebody, they took them on, and then you're in this relationship that that's not even meant to be your one. And the only reason why I did that poem is I was sharing my frustrations. I'm like, God, where is he? Like, what is really going on? But then I also morphed the poem to talk about how when we think about the games we play, how we played MASH and the mansion, and then you listed the people who you wanted to be your husband, and how we would play with Barbie dolls and Ken dolls, and they would have to get married. Like all these things as girls we would do, to the point we're always talking about marriage. And it's like, so then you feel like something is wrong because my mother and father married when my mom was 23. So I just knew by 25, I'm gonna be locked and loaded, spitting out babies. And when that didn't happen, it just, and then when you have your family members questioning you. So that's the whole thing. Like I'm the way it's morphing now. I'm really thinking about turning into a book. I don't know if it's going to be a nonfiction or whatever, but it's a conversation we need to have when it comes to relationships, because sometimes we find ourselves pushed in situations because of societal norms or family expectations. And that's not even who you're supposed to be with. But it's just oh my gosh, it's so much.
We also have the other side of it too, though, where
Mm-hmm.
now I think we're becoming very extreme on the other end of things. Like, to your point, it was everything was about getting married and having babies and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like, I don't need it, I don't want it, I don't desire
I
it.
definitely agree with you on that. Yeah.
But we're also not being honest with ourselves a lot of times. It's
Mm-hmm.
the truth is somewhere in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Is I might be okay if it doesn't happen, but it doesn't mean I don't desire it, because you also got to think about this. If the energy you put out is that you don't want it, don't need it, don't desire it, then why would I chase that down?
Yeah, exactly.
If I was a single man. So just something to think through too is like, don't go to the other end of the road or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the energy you're gonna put out.
Yeah. So, and one of the reasons why I brought Choi on, because I don't want people to think, number one, that there's no good men out there, that there's no good women out there. I think, and I hate to use the word a lot, but I really do think it's a significant number of us. We just had to put in some work. And I think some of us, I'm glad we did not get married at 23, 24. I'm glad we're getting married later because we put the work in, we've done the emotional healing. And my thing is nothing wrong. Now, one thing I will say is different from me now. I don't have to be married, but I do desire to be, like Troy just mentioned. I definitely believe that there's someone out there for me, whatever God reveals them, however, whatever. I believe that's out there. But I have not said, oh, all men are dogs, and I'm gonna be nah, that is never like I love. I love seeing engagements. I love seeing people celebrate wedding anniversaries. I love weddings. I love all that. So it's just giving us tools that if that's what you want, are you the person you need to be to receive that? And I hope that you were able, he says, know what you want, date with a purpose. Now, if you're just trying to date and have fun, and for some of you, just smash, say that.
Just say it.
Just don't act like you like me and you want to be committed to me. And then come to find out you're just trying to smash. Be honest, because there's some people, they're fine with that. They want that. So just be intentional with that. And then he said, diversify your portfolio. My biggest takeaway from that is go outside. Find some new hobbies to do. Some of you try the paid, like me, try the paid apps versus doing the free version, and just pick one. You don't have to be on all of them. Just pick one and see how it works for like a month or two. And then maybe that's what I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking I'm gonna pick one and then see how it goes. And then if I don't like it, and then come off of it. Then he said, leave an authenticity, because the reality is we are in a social media age where everything has to be perfect, eyelashes on fleek. And it's just like, nah, you don't have to do all that, but it just be yourself. Be able to, they know who you are when they talk to you. They can, not saying you have to open up your whole world to them, but enough that they can see who you are. You don't have to pretend that doesn't irk you when you know it irks you. So I was, matter of fact, if we had time, I will tell you about a situation I did this week, but it was automatically strike 1 and 2. He couldn't talk without cursing. I was just like, and some people, that's their thing and that's what they want to do. But I know me, that's not how I talk. So, so talker like just says, right, don't play with people's heart. Be real. Yeah, be going back to point number 1, know what you want. If you know you're just trying to play your field or sow your royal oats, as in Coming to America, be honest and say that. Even when people dealing with monogamy and polygamous relationships, did you put that out front? This is my expectation of this. And as a result, because I'm amazed, but there are people, they're fine with dating people who are dating other people or sleeping with other people. That's them and that's their boat. So be honest with that. And then he said, invest intentional effort. When it comes to your profiles, are you actually putting a picture that someone actually wants to see? Oh my gosh. And then improve emotional intelligence, what I think is the biggest thing we have to work on, because we don't want to repeat, because if we're honest, some of the marriages we have witnessed being together 50, 60, 70 years, some of them were not happy.
Unhealthy.
Very unhealthy, and they were not happy. So you like really sometimes we need to sit down and look at what we deem, oh my God, they stayed together for so long. That don't mean they were happy and again, like you said, healthy. Oh my gosh. So we're coming near the end of our time. I'm seeing if someone else had a question or something like that. But I greatly appreciate y'all. Again, this will be up on Facebook and Instagram for the next 24 hours. And then I will take it down, and then you can find it on YouTube. I'll put that slide up so y'all can see. Matter of fact, let me put his social media up. If you want to follow Troy, he again is on Facebook under Exclusive Thoughts. He is on Instagram under Exclusive 5. Make sure you spell it right. TikTok under Exclusive Thoughts. And then his YouTube channel where his podcast is TNT Unleashed Podcast. What's your podcast? Do y'all broadcast on certain days, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's still in kind of like beginning stages, right? So we're just now getting over to YouTube, but we've been on Apple for 2 seasons.
Okay.
And so I don't necessarily broadcast it live yet. We're still recording and posting. So I just put up a new episode. So it's not a bunch of videos yet, but they're getting there. And I want people to start following because it's picking up.
Oh, definitely. We definitely want to make sure we're doing that. So, and I'll admit with me, after I take it down here, it goes up also on the Spotify. So if you type in Crown by the Shell podcast or even my name, it will pop on iHeart, Spotify. You can listen to this, and the video is always up on YouTube. Please make sure if you're on YouTube, you subscribe. I'm coming up the mountain. I'm so proud at what's happening here. Again, our next episode, let me pull that up real quick. Can I show you? Our next episode is not until the 16th. This is my former student. Also, she's my mentee. For those of you who don't know, I have a group called Roses. We're actually Crown Her is the name of it too. And we're a mentoring group. And I asked my girls, who wants to come with me on a podcast episode? And she was the only one who said, I want to do it. So we're going to sit and talk about what adults need to understand, because I do feel like with some of us, there's a disconnect with our kids, and we want to grow, and we want to make sure we're fostering awesome kids who are going to be the leaders of this country. And then our next episode that week will be with my brother. He's also my barber, and Joshua's barber since he was like 5. His name is Rich Hall, but he goes by Rich Cuts. He has a local barbershop right off of Fairfield Road. Go get yourself hooked up. We will not give you a hookup. Just let him know I sent you. So we're talking about the redemptive code. He has an awesome testimony that I would love him to share with y'all, because sadly we are watching a lot of our youth, especially our male youth, just lose all purpose. And sadly, not everybody survives making mistakes. And he definitely survived and turned his life around, which I'm so proud of him and what he's been able to accomplish. So this is the Crown by Nichelle podcast. I greatly appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure if you find me on social media, you follow, you subscribe. I didn't put up my social media. I need to learn to work on that better. If you haven't already ordered my first children's book, A Blessing for the World. I'm trying to see. It's on the other side. A Blessing for the World. I can put up the banner. It is available. I will admit, if you order it through me, it's going to take probably about a week to get to you, because I got to order it and then it comes to me. You can also order it on Barnes and Noble. The next project that we're looking at releasing, I'm so excited, is my first middle grades novel, Reverse. So that's available for pre-order also. So thank y'all so much for tuning in, and y'all have a good night.